champions that he said are not going to win a third time in a row, but somehow they find a way to win, and they did in their rematch against the regular season. Okay, but at some point, at some point, they do have to lose.
Patriots went undefeated in 2007.
It all goes back to
You're
the
not allowed to mention that.
Patriots.
You're not allowed to mention
I wasn't on that team.
I know, but Bill's going to hear you say that. Hear from it.
Give me your biggest takeaway, though, from what the Chiefs were able to do in the Super Bowl rematch.
This team continues to find a way to win no matter what. Everything doesn't go well for Patrick Mahomes. He has a scramble on the sideline where he looks like he's going to go out of bounds around 10 or 12 yards, picks up an extra 15, 20 yards. Then down at the goal line, they run a play. It actually looks like Kareem Hunt is open. He keeps it, runs over to safety, scores a touchdown. It's just like no matter what, the defense makes plays, then Mahomes makes plays, and then somebody else, Mecole Hardman, comes out today and looks like Mecole Hardman from his rookie year. So this team, I think they have so much poise, and they know if we give ourselves a chance, we'll beat any team on any given Sunday. That confidence allows them to continue to win.
Yeah, and if you ask me the trait that I admire most in people and in teams is the ability to find a way. Your teams for years in New England did that. You guys found a way. You won different ways every year, every week, and every year. And that's what they're doing right now. And you said it. It was kind of an ugly day for Mahomes throwing the football. But in the big moments, down in the red zone, at the end of the ball game, they were making the plays. And the constant for them right now, as we've talked about all year long, is their defense. Steve Spagnuolo has done a fantastic job there. They're stopping the run. They're pressuring the quarterback. They're making it uncomfortable. And then the offense is figuring out what they have to do. And that's the trait that championship teams have. They figure it out and find a way to win games.
And I'll flip it over to the 49ers because clearly something is missing for them this year. They're racked by injuries like they were the last time, the year after they had lost to the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. They've had games won that they've lost. And I feel like today, psychologically, to have the Chiefs come into their building and do that to them, Kyle Shanahan's going to have to get them to forget about it quickly because I think that can linger in your mind. Like, yeah, we climb all the way to the top of the mountain again, and what's going to happen? We'll go back to the Super Bowl, and they'll do to us what they did today. We just can't beat Patrick Mahomes. No matter what we throw at him, it can't work. If they get Christian McCaffrey back, though, that could be the thing that gives them a bit of a lift. They hang around 500. If they can get hot, they can be tough to beat.
I mean, the only saving grace here is that they're not in a tough division. You know, the division is winnable, right? And so, but I think one of the things is just we talked about this at the beginning of the year on this very podcast, right? Which is that last year they were they still are one of the older teams in the NFL, and last year for the most part they got pretty lucky with injuries. And so far this year, starting with McCaffrey, and we've seen with Debo and Ayuk, you know, leaving the game today, and they've been banged up on both sides of the ball throughout the year, and they just haven't handled it that well. You know, I don't mind losing to the Chiefs. It's losing to the Cardinals. I mean, they've had some bad losses this year, right? And you think about, Coach, you talked about this earlier, you know, and I think you made a great point. It's not like the Chiefs lost Isaiah Pacheco. They lost Rashee Rice. They lost Juju Smith-Schuster in this game. Like, you know what I mean? And they've just managed to overcome their injuries, and they found a way. I just want to say a little bit, you know, Patrick Mahomes gets all the headlines, deservedly so, because he's brilliant. But they have not allowed, the Chiefs defense have not allowed more than 2 touchdowns in any game this year. They're 6th in scoring defense. And so when you're not getting blown out of games, you always have a chance, especially when you've got 15 on your field.
And then 15 understands that.
Yep.
You know, he understands that the defense is doing what they need to do. They're shutting them down. He watches the game. He feels the game. What do I need to do? What's the level of my risk-taking that has to happen? And so he knows the defense is playing well. So what do I got to do? I just need to show up in these big moments. And he's the difference. No disrespect to any other quarterback. He's the guy that just seemingly time and time again is making these plays. But he understands the kind of team he's on right now. And it's an impressive sign of maturity for him.
I thought the amazing thing there was when Juju Smith-Schuster goes down with that injury, all of a sudden now they're doing 2 and 3 tight end sets. Noah Gray suddenly becomes a big part of this offense. Like, Andy Reid, give him a lot of credit, adjusted on the fly, and all of a sudden they have different personnel groupings than I think they planned to in San Francisco because a guy that had a massive target share the week before and had been sort of the Rashee Rice replacement was gone for the game. And just, you know, brilliant again.
Question, unplanned question, if I might.
Yeah.
I don't mind. I mean, if you don't mind,
I don't
mind.
mind at all.
Okay, should the Chiefs try to add a receiver if Juju Smith-Schuster's out for a little while?
Yeah, you know,
Got 2 weeks left.
Player acquisition, 365 days out of the year, a proposition. So you're always looking to add.
Trade, not signing.
Yeah. So the question is, who's out there? Devontae Adams was out there, right? So that ship has passed. So you got to figure out what's happening. But you're always looking for guys. and they've done a great job dealing with it, but there's a lot of football to be played, so adding some juice certainly would help them.
Yeah, and you look at it, but Patrick Mahomes, he's thrown more interceptions than he's thrown touchdowns. Like, he's had to overcome some of the issues, the deficiencies that the Chiefs had, but he's made it work at every single turn.
I don't know if you've heard this rumor, Mike. I'll just throw this out there. But what about Mike Williams, who feels like the odd man out in New York and always kills the Chiefs? When he was with the Chargers, it just felt like he always kills the Chiefs. Somebody like that, maybe?
No, they're shopping him. I mean, and the Chargers have been linked to him. The Steelers are interested, but the Chiefs like to keep those draft picks. They understand they've got a year in and year out program. It's going to take a lot for them to give up a draft pick to get a guy, but they may be at the point where they need to do something.
The interesting thing is, if you stay undefeated, do you really feel the need? And maybe like even a guy like DeAndre Hopkins is out there, but like think about this, like the Chiefs outrush the 49ers in a football game. Like how often do we ever come on here and say the 49ers got outrushed by a team, meaning their defense didn't play well against the run and they couldn't run the ball? Like Kansas City, I think they're very content with saying, hey, we'll run the ball if we have to. We'll play good defense. Like, we'll figure it out. We don't need to add someone unless we know for sure that person will add more value than hurt our team.
We had the ball for over 35 minutes today. So to me, a little uncharacteristic of them.
Exactly.
But again, they're figuring out how they need to win this particular game.
Well, we have the 49ers next week against the Cowboys, and maybe that's an opportunity for them to get well as they're still dealing with so many injuries.
I mean, Purdy threw 3 picks this game. I mean, again, with no Debo and Ayuk, it's Kittle and maybe they get Juwan Jennings. Juwan Jennings missed this game. He wasn't active, but maybe they get Jennings back. Hopefully, Debo's injury isn't that bad. And Ricky Pearsall's going to head in. Jacob Cowley, they're going to have to step up.
All right,
All these
guys,
young guys.
Let's go to the Packers. They've won 3 straight now, and really they had to pull it off against the Texans teams that struggled a little bit. We haven't seen this from C.J. Stroud. Only 86 yards passing. That was a career low. But Jordan Love, when he needed to make the plays, he was able to pull it off. And a Packers team winning at home in all whites, which I like the uniform. Some people didn't. I thought it was.
I did not. No.
Get off my lawn.
I dig the all white.
I dig the all white.
If you are a special kind of athlete and you like that, all white is for you. Now, if you're not, you probably don't like all white. It shows a lot, but I'm just saying. When
makes
you're
you look a
fast and
little
stuff,
less
you like wearing that all
What
white.
he's saying is you may look like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in all white if you're not getting in your cardio.
Yeah. Explains why I don't like the all white. Yeah, there you go.
But the Packers moved to 5-2, and that's great news for them in the NFC North.
Yeah, this is now Jordan Love. I think is before our eyes become like C.J. Stroud gets a lot of headlines, deservedly so. And I know Love got the big contract, but he's not talked about among the elite quarterbacks in the NFL. And I think hopefully he's starting to. He's now had multiple touchdown passes in every game he's played so far this year. And they've had a bunch of different guys in and out of the lineup, in terms of their wide receivers. And they just sort of mix and match and find a way. This is a good defense that came into Lambeau in Houston, and Love carved them up. This is a big win for the Green Bay Packers.
The Texans still don't have a signature road win. They beat the Bengals last year in Cincinnati. Other than that, they had the Ravens on the ropes for the first half of the playoff game last year, but they went to Minnesota and they got embarrassed. It's amazing to me that they still almost won this game with C.J. Stroud only having 86 passing yards. So maybe they lift something from this. They've got to be able to go in to a hostile environment and beat a good team. They beat the teams they should. They got to start beating the teams they're not supposed to beat.
I agree with that. I think they'll walk away and say, hey, one thing we can count on is Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon had a big game. But how about, and you've been talking about it all night, this Packers defense, and I just want to focus on what they did adjusting. Like, this team they gave up 3 points to Houston in the second half, and I think that's a credit, obviously, to this defense and what they're doing, and Jordan Love and the offense will get all of the headlines, and rightfully so. They have a lot of weapons on offense, but I know you've been big on this defense the whole day today.
Yeah, no doubt. Nico Collins didn't play in the game, so that's big. When you take that guy out, we've been talking about injuries all night. These guys make a difference when they're in there, particularly when it's the number 1 guy, because now the number 2 receiver steps up into the 1 role, and all of a sudden they're not able to handle that responsibility. So that's a big factor for Houston. They seemed out of whack today. You go back to C.J. Stroud last year, there are very few games where he seemed out of whack. He seemed like he's playing like a 10-year veteran. Today was a little bit different, but I do give Green Bay's defense a lot of credit. They're pressuring the quarterback. They're covering on the back end. They're blitzing in different situations. The one thing that was different for me with them today is they've led the league in turnover ratio by a long shot. Number 1 in the NFL. This week, they were -3. Okay, so they got no takeaways, and they gave the ball up 3 times, and they still won. So it kind of goes back to the Kansas City thing. The best teams overcoming these things when you don't play your best. You don't have your best fastball. You don't have your best slider, but you still get guys out. That's what the really good teams do. So to me, it was a big step for Green Bay today.
Jason, I know it's baseball season and y'all got some stuff going on, but that was a lot of like baseball terminology.
She doesn't watch baseball.
I don't know. I don't know.
That's a really important thing in ball.
Okay.
Right? No, when you don't have your best. How many times does a starting pitcher go out there and have his best stuff, and they figure out how to win anyway? And it's analogous to football teams. And I think we saw that today. So I'm sticking with that.
Okay, that's good. I'm going to learn something about baseball up here with y'all.
Don't waste your time. Don't waste your time.
By the way, they end up getting a last-second field goal. Brandon McManus, who joins the team on Wednesday as well. And how many games have we seen this year that where a last-second field goal either goes wide right or left or goes through the upright? So clutch for them to get that last-second field goal.
And I will say Houston was without Shahir, their linebacker, and also without Lassiter, their starting corner.
Right.
That sometimes that hurts you as a defense, and hopefully those guys get back healthy to help that defense.
All right, another big game that we were looking forward to in the NFC North was the Vikings taking on the Lions, and the Lions have one loss. The Vikings in Florida, he came in with his sweatshirt. He was really excited. He was really ready. He stood up at one point, you know what I mean? Couldn't sit back down.
I knew.
It's a love-hate relationship. It's a love-hate relationship. We have to admit that.
But it should have given you something, not even hope, because your team, they're playing really well, and they played good in this game. They could have won this game.
They could have been blown out, and they came back, and they took the lead. And it's just one of those things. And a lot of Vikings-Lions games recently have come down to this back and forth, who has the ball last. A lot of close games, a lot of tight matches between the two, and they're going to meet again Week 18, and who knows what the stakes will be. There's a chance they're both going to be in the postseason field, and it's just a matter of playoff positioning come Week 18. But they're both legitimate, and the Lions are very hard to stop. Even without Aiden Hutchinson, that offense is pretty damn good. And Jared Goff is getting better and better each week, it seems.
The best offenses win on the line of scrimmage. They do that. They have a lot of really good players on their offensive line. They can do both. They can run the ball, and they can throw it. When you come to the line of scrimmage, you have to deal with both. And you can hand it to different guys. You can throw it to different guys. So you hear me say this a lot. They play the game on their terms. One of the things we've watched the last 3 weeks, we're talking about Jared Goff and these quarterback ratings that he has. Threw it 18 times 2 weeks ago, 25 times last week, 25 times this week. So it's not like, hey, Jared, go win the game for us, go throw it 45 times. They're balanced. They attack different ways. The environment for him is really comfortable. You know, people throw this word great around a lot.
Yeah.
I think their offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson, I think he has a chance to be a great offensive coordinator if he continues to do it over time.
I will say this. Some people might say he's great right now, too.
Some might.
But you're using quotations, right? You're not saying great.
But I do say, even though the Lions won this game, I still think for Minnesota, you walk away from this game and you say, we're right there. They battled. Everything didn't go well. The defense, I think, showed a little kind of chink in the armor. I think their defense, as good as they are, the hard thing is if the blitz gets picked up and they don't win first and second down, I don't think they truly can match up with teams and say, hey, we're going to take our man versus your man and we're going to win more times than not. I don't think they're that type of defense. But I think overall they walked away from this game and said, hey, we took Detroit's best shot. We weren't on the mark today, and we still had a chance to win that game. It still shows how strong this division is.
It'll be interesting. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
It'll be interesting to see how they recover from this because they got a Thursday night game in LA against the Rams. So they're going to have to put it behind them, get ready, and
be confident.
Talk to Stafford back.
Yeah, but oh my goodness! Stop it! I think this stat is fascinating. This goes exactly to what you're talking about, Devin. For the first 5 games, the Vikings trailed for a total of 3 minutes and 26 seconds. I mean, they've just been dominating from start to finish every single game. Today, they trailed for over 33 minutes in this game, and it took Bates kicking a last-second field goal for them to lose. They kept battling. Darnold didn't have his best game, but they kept battling, and they were in it right till the end. I want to go back to Jared Goff for 1 second, though. The knock on Jared Goff is, well, listen, when you give him a clean pocket, he's good. But when you blitz him, when you get to Jared Goff, he falls apart. And now he's got to play the Vikings and Brian Flores, who blitzes as much as any coach in the NFL, Devin, you know this. And under pressure today, Jared Goff, 9 of 11.